Hello all, welcome to Sociology Current Affairs. The main objective of holding this Sociology Current Affairs class is to help you score 1 mark extra in every question you are writing. Current Affairs is not sociology, but you can see sociology in current affairs. Because apart from sociology, current affairs is having so many dimensions. So, a current affairs, for example, coronavirus, COVID-19 is a current affairs thing. Different experts coming from different branches of knowledge will capture coronavirus from their own domain area of interest. Emile Durkheim rightly pointed out that reality is multifaceted. Every discipline will look at reality from its own interest. And sociology will have to look at reality from the social interest. So, reality is having a physical dimension, chemical dimension, biological dimension, psychological dimension, philosophical dimension. So, there are n number of dimensions present in every reality. But as a sociologist, we should be very much concerned about the social dimension of reality. Hence, Durkheim says the perspective of sociology is social realism. We have to apply this Durkheimian concept of social realism that in current affairs is multifaceted. Current affairs has multiple phases, multiple dimensions. It is having an economic dimension, it is having a political dimension, it is having a psychological dimension. There are many such dimensions for current affairs, which is a reality. As a student of sociology, we should be very much concerned about the social dimension of current affairs and therefore sociology of current affairs. So, the point which I am making clear is this: in current affairs, you have so many dimensions. We are concerned about the social dimensions of current affairs. We are concerned about the social dimension of coronavirus. When the spread of coronavirus did not start in India in the month of February 2020, I was holding a class on current affairs sociology in which we have spoken about sociology of coronavirus. Right? That time when I took sociology of coronavirus, I was not anticipating that India will be a very big victim of coronavirus. So that was a time when China was very much affected by coronavirus, and I even told that this is Chinese virus. But later we realized that it is not just a Chinese virus, it is the virus of the entire world. Globalization of economy, globalization of politics, and globalization of epidemics. Today we are finding this globalization of culture, globalization of economics, globalization of polity, globalization of family, globalization of religion, so as globalization of epidemics. So this speaks about how globalization on one hand is causing interconnectedness amongst the countries which are hitherto unconnected. But today, globalization has created a single village called global village. And this global village was hailed by people as if it is contributing for an integration of the world people which will be progressive, like a classical economist. But we are seeing that globalization is having a dysfunctional aspect, as R.K. Merton would always say, that anything with respect to every other thing is having a functional, dysfunctional, non-functional consequences. Globalization also has functional, dysfunctional consequences which has to be analyzed at the level of individual, group, and the larger society. So, this is what we should understand, that when we are seeing current affairs, we are not into the other aspects of current affairs, we are into the social aspects of current affairs. And the purpose of this class is to give you value addition to your preparation. Value addition. A person who is incorporating current affairs in sociology will be a person who will be able to tell the examiner very, very clearly that, sir, I have understood the subject. Only one who is able to integrate current affairs with the subject is the one who has understood the subject. Always current affairs is like a salt which can add taste to your food. Current affairs is sometimes asked as a food itself in paper 2 of sociology. Very much current affair they are asking. So therefore in the test batch, which we started from October first week onwards, I have put so many questions on current affairs. I have put so many questions on current affairs in the test batch which is going on now. Right? And most of the questions I am putting coronavirus. Coronavirus is not just a virus, rather it has become a perspective, according to me. It has become a dimension. Anything, everything can be seen through the prism of coronavirus. The world can be divided into two, historically speaking. One before coronavirus, another after coronavirus. After coronavirus has come, there is a huge sea change which we are seeing. Across the entire spectrum of the society, we are seeing a sea change. Whether it is polity or economics or it is culture or it is whatever, religion, whatever, there is a sea change we have seen after coronavirus has hit the country, hit the world. International organization has been criticized by many because UN is not able to come out with a solution. UN Security Council, security, a new concept of security they are speaking after globalization has come. Security is not to be seen as a territorial security. Security should be seen in a very comprehensive way. Human security, which includes food security, health security, social security, psychological security, economic security, political security, ultimately peace of mind, which will give you happiness. So what is very, very important today is ensuring a comprehensive security for the people, not just military threats, but non-conventional threats like epidemic disease is hitting the nook and corner of the world. So how are we going to tackle the issue, problems caused by coronavirus? Everybody is perplexed, whether it is national institution or regional institution or it is international institution, everybody is perplexed. So this is a very new world, a COVID world, and this is what is the topic for today's class. How COVID is influencing the different aspects of the social, political and cultural life of the people, especially India. Normally, when you write an answer for the main examination, you should have this format. So, sociology, current affairs. Sociology, current affairs, 2020. An answer, ideal answer should be like this. In main examination, there should be an introduction, there should be the body of the answer, and there should be conclusion. This everyone knows. But my point here is, either you use current affairs in the introduction or you use current affairs in the conclusion. Either you use current affairs in the introduction or you use current affairs in the conclusion, because when you use current affairs in the introduction, it very well tells the examiner that you are a very enlightened aspirant, that you are very much keeping abreast of the current affairs. And this is very, very important for a civil servant. You have to know what is happening actually. You should not be ignorant. You should know precisely what is happening. What is happening in India, what is happening in your district, what is happening in the world, what is happening in the region. You have to be a person who has to keep abreast of the current developments as a civil servant. Because a civil servant is a problem solver. So problems which are present in one part of the world is affecting the other part of the world due to globalization. Problems in one district is spreading to another district. Problem in East Asia is spreading to South Asia and West Asia. So the current development is very, very important, which is why in the UPSC examination, whether it is prelims examination or main examination, there is an extra dosage of current affairs. I have consciously attempted this for the last 3 years to just test how my students are able to incorporate current affairs, thereby able to score better. I have seen in the last 3 years, people have started scoring better in paper 2. Why I am telling very particularly paper 2? Because in general, throughout India, people score on an average less marks in paper 2 than paper 1 sociology. Why? Because in paper 2, they will give question like general studies question. They will tell you about, right, urbanization. They will ask you about some urbanization and you will end up writing stories on urbanization. There is a sociology of urbanization which you have to write. Right? So, in paper 2, when they are asking current affairs, sociology paper 2, students just write GS answers. Now, here where I wanted to intervene, I am an interventionist, like a cardiologist, who is going to do the angioplasty when there is a blockage. I am interventionist. I found that there is a block in paper 2 for the students, that when questions are asked like GS, they tend to write GS answers. I wanted to break this. Last 3 years, consciously I made the attempt, and I am feeling comfortable because that the trial and error method is working. That last 3 years, my students are able to score better in paper 2. Normally, they score better in paper 1. Now, paper 2 mark is also on par with paper 1 mark. And this is the purpose of holding a very, very explicit class on current affairs sociology. To make you score extra. So, when you write something extra, normally current affairs will not be integrated by many students. Even if they integrate, they will not integrate the sociological aspect of current affairs. They simply write the GS aspect of current affairs, which will not attract the examiner when he is a sociologist correcting the sociology paper. So therefore, this in the YouTube videos, if you go and see Smart Leader Sociology Current Affairs, you type and see, you'll find a number of videos. Last 3 years, we have published the videos in the YouTube. It is present in the open platform. You can, every one of you can see this. Right? Last 3 years, we are putting the videos. You can see. Because 2018, when I took current affairs sociology, 2020 current affairs sociology is not going to be that much different. It is not going to be that much different or not. Right? So, just even facts will not change. 2018, when poverty is, say, 42% in rural India, 2020, whether it will become 20%, no, it will be 41 or 43, that's all. So, my point here is, you can watch the videos which are available in the public forum, that is YouTube channel. The previous videos on sociology current affairs, you can see and make a note of it. Now, coming to this, I told you either your introduction should be with current affairs or your conclusion should be filled with current affairs. So this will help you score 1 mark extra. I am not asking any big thing. I just wanted the examiner to give to my student 1 mark extra, because he has taken effort, she has taken effort. And definitely this will work. 1 mark extra in paper 1 19 questions, 19 marks. 1 mark extra in paper 2, 19 questions, 19 mark. Totally 38 to 40 marks you will get extra. So 40 marks means the difference is so huge. 40 means you will be above 500 students in the merit list. If you are 40 marks above, you will be 400 above. Instead of getting 400th rank, you will get second rank. Instead of getting 800th rank, you will get 400th rank. So this is what is the main objective of holding this sociology current affairs. I have to give you a briefing of why we are going to do this, because we should consciously know what for we are holding the current affairs sociology class. Right? So coming to today's topic, and what more is current affairs than coronavirus? So today's lecture will be mostly focusing on how coronavirus caused so much of changes, how different perspectives of sociologists or the makers of modern India can be applicable to coronavirus. Right? So the theme of today's class is coronavirus, COVID. Sociology of COVID-19 is the theme of today's class. The very first topic which I wanted to start for today's class is relevance of Dr. Ambedkar. Relevance of Dr. Ambedkar in COVID times. How relevant Dr. Ambedkar is in this COVID times. Ambedkar in the times of COVID-19 is the topic, first topic we are going to deal in today's class. Relevance of Dr. Ambedkar in COVID times. If you look at the Indian social structure, it is incompatible. I wanted every one of you to parallelly write what I am telling. Because the best writing, best way of learning is your running notes. How many pages of material I give, that doesn't bother at all, that doesn't matter at all. But the main thing is you write while I am giving you the lecture. Running notes will be the best source of preparation. Right? So we have no dearth of printed material. You have so many printed material, but what I wanted you while attending the classes, take a pen, take a notebook and start writing very fastly. So Dr. Ambedkar, his relevance during the times of COVID-19. Indian social structure. Where will you write this? In paper 2. In paper 2, where you will write? In paper 2, there is one topic called caste system. You can write in caste system. This as current affairs. Caste system. Right? Indian social structure is incompatible with the substantive democracy. Substantive democracy means what? A democracy which is really giving rights and justice to the people. It's not just procedural democracy, it is substantive democracy. Substantive democracy means a democracy which is really giving people a bundle of rights. It's not just the formal democracy, it is substantive democracy, real democracy, which is rooted in the fundamental rights and justice. So Dr. Ambedkar says that the old Indian social structure characterized by caste system is not in tune with, it is not compatible with the substantive democracy. Demonetization and the unplanned lockdown due to coronavirus are the examples of man-made and policy-induced crisis. demonetization and the lockdown due to COVID-19, they are man-made and policy-induced crisis. So there is already present caste system, which is the reason for pathological distance. There is present caste system, which is the reason for pathological distance between various castes. Pathological distance between various castes. Pathological means very abnormal, very dysfunctional. Pathological distance between various castes is because of the caste system, which is hierarchical. So there is present a pathological distance between various castes in the caste system, and this has resulted in policy blindness towards the concerns of the oppressed people. Social distance is pathological because of caste system, and because of this pathological social distance, there is policy blindness towards the concerns of the oppressed sections. No policy is taking into account the problems of the oppressed sections. So we say policy blindness towards the concerns of the oppressed sections. Social stratification has resulted in exclusions. Unit number 5, paper 1, social stratification, you have social stratification causes exclusions, social exclusions. According to Dewey, there is one scholar, according to Dewey, social stratification is impervious to the interests of others. He is using a concept. Social stratification is impervious to the interest of others. What is the meaning of this? Impervious means every group is having its own norms, every caste is having its own norms, and it is closed. Every caste is closed. No caste is having communication with the other caste, or the caste is totally isolated from each other with no exchange with the rest of the world. Impervious means closed system. Every caste is having its own norms, having its own practices, and there is no exchange with the rest of the world. So the exchange with the rest of the world, no communication with the rest of the world should be understood sociologically. No communication with the rest of the world doesn't mean that they don't go out of the house. They go out of the house, but they are not mingling with each other. They are not mingling with each other. They have their own mental barrier that I belong to this caste. So I will go to a city, I will go for a job, but I will carry that mental block that I belong to this caste, he belongs to that caste. That caste consciousness is always present. So I see myself totally different from another person belonging to some other caste. This is what is called as impervious. Insulated from others. Impervious can also mean insulated from others. So people may work in the factory belonging to various castes, but they always have their caste consciousness that I belong to this caste. So there is no real communication. There is no real exchange of ideas between each other. Every caste is isolated, and lower caste is totally insulated from that of the upper caste. So when you look at Dalits, Adivasis, Muslims, they are socially isolated. They are socially isolated. Dr. Ambedkar speaks about this social isolation. He says that untouchability is an aspect of social psychology. Dr. Ambedkar says untouchability is an aspect of social psychology. Untouchability is social nausea of one group against another group. Untouchability is a sort of social nausea of one group as against the other group. So Dr. Ambedkar writes about how untouchability is practiced because of the social isolation. There is no effective communication. Everybody is having their own caste and they live in that world of caste. Caste, according to Dr. Ambedkar, is anti-national. Why caste is anti-national? Why caste is anti-national? Because if I think my caste is my world, you think your caste is your world, then will we be integrated? Nation refers to integration. Caste refers to differentiation and discrimination. So the objective of nation and the objective of caste is totally opposites of each other. Nation will integrate many groups. Caste will differentiate and discriminate one group from the other group. So one is integration called nation, another is discrimination called caste. So caste is anti-national. Caste is the reason for creating jealousy. One group is jealous against the other group. One group is apathetic with the other group. So there is present hostility, mutual jealousy amongst various caste groups, and this is a very, very big barrier for India's national integration, says Dr. Ambedkar. When there is no national integration, when there is no a sense of common brotherhood, when there is caste system, there will be no fraternity. When there is no fraternity, there will be no equality and liberty. So no fraternity, no liberty, no equality, and there is no nation. India is not a nation, therefore, as long as caste is present. So Dr. Ambedkar is writing the constitution wanting caste should be removed. He writes a essay, otherwise called as undelivered lecture. The title of the undelivered lecture in 1936 was Annihilation of Caste. Annihilation of caste. So caste should be killed according to Dr. Ambedkar. Only the nation can be built. Therefore, Constitution says no discrimination should be made on caste. Right to equality from Article 14 to 18 wanted to kill caste system because caste is characterized by hierarchy. Constitution characterizes equality. So therefore, using Constitution, Dr. Ambedkar wanted to kill the caste system. Caste has killed the public spirit. Caste has killed the public opinion. Caste has killed the public charity. So caste therefore is divisive. Now, to uplift the members belonging to lower caste, what we should have done? We should have increased the representation of all sections of Indian society in the bureaucracy as well as the state structures, that is the political structure. We should have increased the representation of all sections in bureaucracy and the state structures. But India miserably failed on these two accounts. Neither we could include more people in bureaucracy belonging to all sections, nor we can, ensure all sections participation in the state apparatus. Of course, reservation is attempting to do the first thing, include the representation of all sections in bureaucracy. But reservation is hijacked by the elites. Supreme Court of India wanted creamy layer concept to be introduced to SC/ST in reservation, ST/ST in promotion, right? So that also came in the news. Link these things to the Supreme Court judgment in a case called as Jarnail Singh case, which everyone should be aware of. December 2019, the central government was wanting the Supreme Court to refer this Jarnail statement, Jarnail judgment of the Supreme Court to a 7-judge bench. Jarnail Singh case, 2018. Supreme Court wanted creamy layer concept to be introduced in the SC/ST reservation in promotion, not in appointment. So neither we could include all sections in the bureaucracy, nor we can include all sections in the state apparatus, and therefore the plight of the lower caste continues. Systematically, we have not given importance to public education or public health. When coronavirus was hitting the country, the public health system was not sound enough to tackle this unforeseen emergency. We have not given proper importance, no serious concern given to public health and public education. So when coronavirus came to India, the health system was unprepared to face this unforeseen emergency. And now who will be very much affected? Whenever any problem comes, if you go and ask Karl Marx, he will say poor will be more affected. It is true. When you come to India, poor people are which people? Who belong to the lower caste. So poor people are invariably belonging to lower caste in India. When there is any economic shock, when there is any shock caused by epidemic disease, when there is any political shock, when there is any natural disaster, the worst hit will be the sections which are present in the lower strata. So during the coronavirus time, who was worst hit was Dalits, tribes, and the minorities called Muslims. On one hand, we have no comprehensive health care. On one hand, we don't have a comprehensive health care. We don't have social development indicators strong. We are lagging behind many of the South Asian countries, including Bangladesh or Sri Lanka, as far as development is concerned, human development is concerned. So on one hand, there is a weak public institutions, especially health and education. On the other hand, the culture, the mass culture or the popular culture is unscientific. It is encouraging superstitions. It is anti-scientific. It is full of hazardous belief system. So this is a bigger problem. Coronavirus is coming. Now the culture, popular culture is anti-scientific. The popular culture is having hazardous belief system, and this results in victimization of the lower caste, Muslims and women. So there is a lethal combination of, on one hand, social isolation because of the caste system. On the other hand, a social nausea of the dominant caste with respect to the lower caste. Social isolation because of caste system and social nausea of the upper caste towards the lower caste. This has resulted in policy blindness towards the plights of the needs of the oppressed masses. In various places, lower caste people were attacked. Muslims were attacked as the carrier of coronavirus. Lower caste Muslims are seen as carrier of coronavirus. Why they have been seen as carrier of coronavirus? Take for example, there was one Jamaat in Delhi called as Tablighi Jamaat. Tablighi Jamaat. Many thousands of people who attended this Tablighi Jamaat, they got infected by coronavirus. Now Muslims were targeted as you are the spreader of coronavirus. So Chinese virus became Muslim virus. How could easily we target the Muslim minorities? This speaks about lack of substantive democracy in India. Religious groups are targeted. Who? Muslims are targeted. Dalits are targeted. Why Dalits are targeted? Caste trained mind. Mind is trained by caste. Caste trained mind tells you that. Caste trained mind tells you that the disease is not carried through germs. Disease is carried through unclean human beings. Disease is not carried through germs. Disease is carried through unclean human beings, and this is what is said by caste trained mindset. So people who are having caste centric mindset, they see that disease, coronavirus is not spreading through germs, rather it is only spreading through unclean people. Who are branded as unclean people? Who are branded as unclean people? Lower caste people are branded. Lower caste people are labeled. Lower caste people are labeled as unclean people. So lower caste people are seen as you are the spreader of coronavirus. Why? Because they are doing unclean jobs. They are doing unclean jobs. Even today, they are doing polluting jobs. So, Dr. Ambedkar wanted caste and occupation should be dislinked from each other, which is why he made 19(1)G, Article 19(1)G, right to choose one's job is a fundamental right. But even today, caste and occupation are highly linked to each other. The linkage between caste and occupation is not broken. Caste mind is thinking in terms of purity and pollution. Durkheim says no, sacred and profane. Caste is giving you that dualistic life experience that either something should be pure or something should be impure. So seeing people as pure, impure, seeing objects as pure and impure, seeing lower caste people as impure, upper caste people as pure. And this purity pollution notion is because of the caste system. This purity pollution notion is also making difficult the work of the waste management agencies. Collection of waste disposal. You can see that many people who are collecting the waste, who are employed in the corporation as garbage collector, they belong to lower caste. Even now, manual scavenging is present despite of an Act 2013 which is prohibiting manual scavenging but permitting some forms of manual scavenging. Who are manual scavengers? 100% manual scavengers are who? Those who belong to former untouchable caste. Today you cannot call untouchable caste because untouchability is abolished due to Article 17. So you find that the people who are doing unclean job are seen as the carrier of coronavirus and they are discriminated more. The concept of purity pollution, social isolation, coronavirus is having a unholy alliance with each other. So, those who are belonging to the lower caste, they become therefore the victim of coronavirus. We find that violence against Muslims and violence against the lower caste people doing unclean job during the COVID period has been reported in media. When they see a garbage collector belonging to lower caste, the people are attacking, you are spreading coronavirus. Similarly, Muslims are seen as spreaders of coronavirus, carriers of coronavirus. There is a toxic mix of neoliberalism plus caste system. There is a toxic mix of toxic T-O-X-I-C, toxic mix of neoliberalism and caste system, that is dividing the people who are already divided. So coronavirus comes, it is using the already present caste system to even more divide the people into various sections. We find that Dr. Ambedkar in his writing speaks about the need for struggle against two. One, struggle against Brahmanism. Number two, struggle against neoliberal capitalism. Because he knows that Brahmanism and neo-capitalism will combine and it will discriminate the lower caste people. When health emergency comes like epidemic disease, coronavirus, the plight of the lower caste people becomes even more pathetic. So therefore, Dr. Ambedkar way back told that we have to fight against two important enemies. One is Brahmanism, another is neo-capitalism. Now there is a solution to this, the problem of the lower caste people. Whenever there is an economic crisis or there is an epidemic crisis, the problem of the lower caste people becomes more difficult. Dewey gives a solution. The solution is social end osmosis. He says, solution for today's problem, solution for the problem faced by the lower caste since time immemorial in the name of caste system is social end osmosis. What do you mean by social end osmosis? Social end osmosis means we have to open up the channels of communication at multiple points to facilitate people communicate effectively to each other. Isolation, social isolation is the problem. Solution is social end osmosis, that we have to open up the communication channel between various groups. So lower caste, upper caste, middle caste, irrespective of their differences in the social hierarchy, will have to communicate effectively with each other. We have to open up the channels of communication. We have to open up the channels of communication. How will you open up the channels of communication? You can open up the channels of communication only through universalization of education, universalization of health services. So open up the channels of communication between various classes, between various caste groups. And this process is called as social end osmosis. Dr. Ambedkar, in his Annihilation of Caste, also speaks about social end osmosis. In his work, Annihilation of Caste, also links social end osmosis with social mobility. He is linking social end osmosis with social mobility. So he says that the barrier which is erected in the name of caste system will have to be diluted by encouraging people to freely communicate with each other. Free points of contact will have to be established. Conscious communication will have to be encouraged amongst people belonging to various classes, various social groups. So this requires what? The breaking of stereotype present. We are already having stereotype that this caste is like this gender is like this. We have a stereotype. And because of that stereotype only, we don't freely communicate with the other groups, social groups, like caste groups. The stereotype should be broken. You have to break the stereotype. Therefore, Dr. Ambedkar wanted re-socialization as a solution. Re-socialization means relearning of a culture. Socialization is learning of culture. Re-socialization means whatever you have learned, you have to rub it and you have to relearn. But that takes time. That takes really time. When all sections are represented in all levels, then naturally communication channels will open up between the various social classes and the social isolation will go. Social isolation is the biggest problem faced by the lower caste people. So re-socialization, how to go for re-socialization, relearning of the culture. Adult people have to rub all whatever they have learned during the childhood days, they have to rub. Adult people will have to learn new things. Re-socialization, how to contribute for re-socialization? Only through civil society and public education system, re-socialization is possible. Who says? Dewey says, Dewey. Dewey says only through civil society and public education system we can cause re-socialization, which means adult will learn new things by erasing the stereotypes they have related to various social classes or social groups. So if that communication happens, if social endosmosis happens, if communication happens between various people, in fact in city that endosmosis is happening, that nobody is going to ask for your caste when they are going to give a job. Nobody is asking the caste of a waiter who is serving food in the restaurant. Nobody is asking the caste if you wanted to go and have food in a restaurant in the city. Nobody is going to ask your caste if you wanted to stay in a lodge in city. So there is a social endosmosis which is happening in city. So through social endosmosis, what happens? A person belonging to lower caste, he can easily achieve social mobility and he will join the ranks of ruling elite. So through social endosmosis, an individual belonging to lower caste can achieve social mobility. He will join the ranks of ruling class. He will become the ruling class. For example, through reservation policy, a person belonging to lower caste can become IAS. After he has become IAS, will anyone go and ask the collector that which caste you belong to? Nobody will have the guts. Nobody will have the guts. So through social endosmosis, that you go learn in places irrespective of the caste distinctions, you become successful, you write the examination, you clear the examination, you become the collector. Thereafter what happens? Nobody will ask you whether you belong to this caste or that caste. Right? Even a lower caste person belonging to a lower strata clears the IAS examination through reservation. Nobody will be bothered to ask whether you are a reserved category person, you are a farmer, untouchable. Nobody will ask question because you have become upwardly mobile, you have become the collector. So through social endosmosis, if an individual belonging to lower caste is achieving social mobility, entering the ruling class, then it will be a very big impetus to people belonging to lower caste to achieve. So he becomes the reference group and many people will aspire to reach upward mobility or to attain upward mobility. Right? And this definitely will break the social isolation. So social isolation should be broken through what? Social endosmosis, meaning increasing the communication between people despite of the caste distinction. So on one hand, because of social endosmosis, upward mobility will come. On the other hand, social endosmosis will result in representation of people in all sections of the society. So all sections of the society will get represented in bureaucracy. All sections will be getting represented in the civil services. And this will encourage the other people to seek upward mobility. So social endosmosis re-socialization becomes solution for caste-based discrimination, which is mainly caused by social isolation. Right? Go to Scandinavia, go to Kerala. Go to Scandinavia, go to Kerala. There, the public institutions are created and they are sustained. So, creation of public institution and sustaining of the public institution for common goals. They have strong public institutions for common goals, that is the welfare of the people. Now, health is given, public health, public education is given, and through this, Scandinavian countries and Kerala is able to manage successfully the distress caused by the disease called coronavirus. So we have to follow Kerala model or Scandinavian model, build public institutions which is working for achieving the common goal like inclusive health, inclusive education, a clean environment, and through that Scandinavian countries and Kerala is able to manage the coronavirus efficiently in comparison to others. Right? So this is the topic. How Dr. Ambedkar is speaking about the problem of the Dalits, how the lower caste people are doing unclean job because of caste, how they are attacked by the people today as if they are the carriers of coronavirus, how to resolve this untouchability, how to resolve the social isolation. Solution is re-socialization and social endosmosis. So if the question in UPSC sociology was asked in this way, that discuss the social impact of coronavirus, you should not write according to World Health Organization these many people were affected by coronavirus, these many people got discharged from hospital, these many people have died, these many children have died, and the main targeted the coronavirus only hits those people who are having this problem, right? Different strategies which the national government and the World Health Organization is advising, like SMS strategy, that you have to use sanitizer, social distance, you have to use soap, you have to wear mask, SMS, soap, mask and social distance. This is the strategy, national strategy. Everybody will have to wash the hands with the soap. What UPSC will do? It will also wash the hands. Right? This is not GS where you will write such stories. This is sociology. So, coronavirus, social endosmosis, re-socialization. This is what is sociology of coronavirus. Understanding the difference between general studies answer and sociology current affairs or not? Understanding the difference between sociology current affairs and GS current affairs or not? You are writing sociology current affairs, not GS current affairs in sociology paper. You can of course add sociology current affairs in GS, which will add weightage to you, but don't write GS current affairs in sociology. Right? Next topic is women and COVID-19. Women and COVID-19. So the first topic, Ambedkar relevance during times of COVID-19, you can use in paper 1 unit 5, social stratification, because there they are giving dimensions of social stratification, status dimension, caste is the example. Then come to the paper 2, caste system, untouchability, caste conflict paper 2, in the 7th unit of section C, challenges of social transformation, right? So these are the places where you can use the current affairs which I have given so far. The first topic, relevance of Dr. Ambedkar in the times of COVID-19. The second topic for today's class is women and COVID-19. Women and COVID-19. How women have become more marginalized because of COVID-19. Already they are marginalized like Dalits, like tribals. Coronavirus is coming and they have to bear the brunt of this crisis called coronavirus. So, whether it is man-made disaster or it is natural disaster, more and more victims are women. They have to bear the brunt of the crisis, whether it is man-made crisis or God-made crisis. Who has to bear the brunt of the crisis? Women. For example, there was one natural disaster in the name of tsunami. Tsunami came. Many people lost their life, their property. So, after tsunami, rehabilitation camps were conducted by NGOs, government, and those women who were rendered homeless, they have to stay in the stay homes or the relief camps set up by government or NGO. In relief camps, it was coming to the notice that women who were rendered homeless became victims of sexual abuse by men. Already they are homeless people. When they go to government homes or the temporary relief camps, there they are subjected to sexual abuse. Right? We have seen that employment is not equally available for all. There is no equality of opportunity in jobs. There is only sector specific employment for women. Women can go to only particular job, not to other jobs. Because of the gender stereotyping, this word you have to use. Gender stereotyping resulted in women confining themselves only to sector specific jobs. 96% of the women are working in the unorganized sector, where there is no social security, there is no job security, there is no wage security, no security, absolutely. Harsh working environment, instances of sexual abuse, right? No legal protection. So, when there is an economic slowdown caused by coronavirus, we know there is a collateral damage which coronavirus has done to almost all sections of society, all sectors of economy, all sectors of polity, whatever. Collateral damage. So when there is a recession, economic slowdown caused by coronavirus, definitely there will be more wage cuts. Who will be the victim of such additional wage cut? Who will be becoming jobless? Women are rendered jobless. 80% of women who were working as domestic servants, they lost their job because of coronavirus. 80% of the housemates or homemates were stopped by the owners because they fear that the housemaid or the homemaid or the servant maid will spread coronavirus to them. So they say no, they become jobless. 80% of domestic helpers have been rendered jobless because of COVID-19. World Health Organization says 70% of world health workers are women. See, they are the caregivers actually. 70% of the world health workers are women, out of which 79 nurses are women only. So, healthcare providers, especially nurse, means women only. According to whom? World Health Organization. 70% of health workers are women, 79% of nurses are women only. Because of the coronavirus, work at home or work from home has become a new normal. Work from home has become a new normal. So, all the members of the family will have to live together in a small space, right? They have to live in a very small house. The traditional role of women still continues in India. What is the traditional role of women? They are the homemakers. Traditional role of women still continues in India. There is no equal responsibility given to men and women in the household roles. Equal division of labor in domestic sphere is not there. Women will have to be homemaker. They have to be the one who has to nurse the children, nurse the elders, nurse the sick people, nurse the aged people, disabled people. So, the traditional role play cannot be compromised by women. Women belonging to all strata, whether upper caste women or middle caste women or lower caste women, women belonging to all strata, they are facing additional household work because of coronavirus. Additional household works. As in the WhatsApp, in the memes and all, you would have seen the burner of the stove is not stopping, it's on. The flame on the stove, cooking stove, is always on because one or the other preparation is getting made in the kitchen. And who does this? Women. So, they face additional household work because of work from home, which is new normal. The lower income family have lost their job or they are facing a risk of losing the job. So, when there is an anxiety because of the risk of becoming jobless, it will affect the peace of mind. Daily basis, we don't know whether we will be in job tomorrow or not. So the tension will be there. No, anxiety because of lack of job security has created tension in the households. Domestic tensions resulted in domestic violence. Husband is feeling very insecure about job. He is always stressed and he is picking quarrel with the wife and he is involving in domestic violence. So work from home, anxiety or insecurity about the job resulted in tension. Tension escalated in the form of domestic violence against women. It is found that because of the hormonal differences, women are twice likely to face depression than men. Because of the hormonal differences, women are twice likely to face depression than men. There are a number of hormonal problems which women will have, not there for men. For example, premenstrual syndrome, pregnancy related depressive condition, postpartum depression, premenopausal symptom, menopausal symptom. These are some hormonal issues which women are facing, and this issue interferes more with the everyday life today, as everyday life is full of insecurity caused by coronavirus. Already they have hormonal differences or hormonal problems, and this hormonal problem is becoming more acute because of the tension caused by coronavirus and the possibility of the family getting ruined economy due to lockdown imposed because of COVID-19. So women are reared to practice the culture of silence. Patriarchy, male dominated society, this is. So women cannot speak against men. They are reared to practice the culture of silence. Right? Whether it is war, or it is natural disaster, or it is pandemic, women's body will have to bear the brunt of all the crises. In wartime also, women are sexually assaulted by the enemy soldiers. In natural disaster also, women are ruined because women and nature is closely connected. There is a symbiotic relation between women and nature. Women will be dependent on nature for collecting cooking fuel. She used to collect fuel fodder from the nature. She used to take the products of nature, sell in the market, earn some money. Everything gets spoiled because of the natural disaster. So whether it is war or it is pandemic or it is natural disaster, women's body will have to bear the brunt of all these crises. World Health Organization, United Nations says domestic violence is a shadow pandemic. UN says domestic violence is what? A shadow pandemic. Domestic violence is a shadow pandemic, says who? United Nations. National Commission for the Working of Women. National Commission for Women. National Commission for Women has told that coronavirus triggered huge spike in domestic violence against women. National Commission for Women got more number of complaints on this. Coronavirus triggered a huge spike in the instances of domestic violence, according to National Commission for Women. It has reported large increase in the distress calls after the COVID-19. Large number of phone calls, distress call came to National Commission for Women after the coronavirus spread. So during the COVID lockdown, violence against women has increased manifold times according to National Commission for Women. National strategy against COVID-19 says everybody should confine themselves inside their home because home is the safest place to be. Home is the safest place. Don't come out of the home. I still remember, don't write this. I'm referring to the Prime Minister. Don't write the Prime Minister or institutions very wrongly in the answer. So don't take risk and all. But for your understanding, I'm saying, during the announcement of the first lockdown, Prime Minister of India says, if you go out of the house, coronavirus will come into your house. So the government strategy is what? Home is the safest place to protect you from coronavirus. But ironically speaking, home is not the safest place for women, because women are having abusers in the home only. They are forced to live with their abusers. And now abusers have increased access to women. Abusers have increased access to women, but the victims have reduced access to resources. Abusers have increased access to women, but the victims have reduced access to resources. So domestic violence is a part and parcel of male dominated society called patriarchy. Enormous control men have over women in a patriarchal society. Because of coronavirus, men are losing their job. So they found that their power is lost, their power over their life, their control over their life is lost because of the job loss caused by coronavirus. They became very frustrated. Because of the loss of the job, because of insecurity, because they find that their life is not in their control, they became frustrated. Who have become frustrated? Men have become frustrated. To vent out their frustration, who are the soft target? Women. There is a concept called scapegoating. When you are frustrated, you will show your anger against somebody who is not going to retaliate. Who will not retaliate? Women in the house, especially wife, will not retaliate. So domestic violence, culture of silence, crisis caused by pandemic. Traditionally speaking, when wife is facing domestic violence, she has a temporary relief, a support system. Which is that support system? She'll go to her father's house. So when husband is involving in domestic violence, in past, wife will go to her father's house, leaving the husband. But now, because of the lockdown, wife is facing more domestic violence, but she cannot go to her father's house. Fear of spread of coronavirus to the elderly people. Constantly, World Health Organization and the national government tells that people who are above 65, they are very vulnerable for coronavirus. So they should, as much as possible, they should stay within the four walls of the house. They should not come out. Now, a woman who is subjected to domestic violence by her husband, earlier she can go to her parents' house. Now she cannot go to her parents' house because she fears that her parents will be affected by coronavirus, as they are elderly people. Now you wanted to go to shelter home. Women wanted to go to shelter home because she cannot tolerate the atrocity committed by the husband. She wanted to go to the shelter home. But shelter home is overcrowded now. She wanted to go to police station, file a complaint against domestic violence, file a complaint against husband in the Domestic Violence Act. But police is already burdened with the COVID duty. They will not encourage any such complaint. Now she is attacked by husband physically and she has to go to hospital. But there is no hospital bed available because the total hospital is filled with coronavirus patients. Where she will go? Neither she can go to father's house, nor she can go to police station, nor she can go to shelter home, not even she can go to hospital. In Spain and France, not just in India, throughout the world, domestic violence against women increased during lockdown period. In Spain and France, they brought a new novel initiative. A woman who is affected by domestic violence, they can go to pharmacy and they can make a request. The request is mask 19. If they are using this code word, mask 19, then the pharmacist will alert the police that a victim of domestic violence has come. So women can inform police through this code word. You can go to pharmacy, ask for mask 19. Police will come, take you to the house, arrest the husband. Where? France and Spain, not in India. So the poorest and the weakest in the society, already they are not able to have any access to the social resources. Now because of coronavirus, they become more and more deprived, more and more subjected to exclusion, marginalization. Indian women, total Indian women, they spend 16 billion hours per day doing unpaid domestic work. 16 billion hours per day Indian women do unpaid domestic work. So look at how patriarchy is using this pandemics to further ill-treat women, exploit women, abuse women. There is a deadly combination, patriarchy and pandemics, deadly combination. Victims are women. Uma Chakravarti uses a concept called as narcotizing patriarchy. Uma Chakravarti uses a concept called as narcotizing patriarchy. Narcotizing patriarchy. Karl Marx used the concept or not? Religion becomes the opium of the masses. Narcotics means what? Opium. Patriarchy is like a opium consumed by all. Religion is the opiate of the masses, Karl Marx said. Similarly, there is narcotizing patriarchy. She speaks about how women are exploited by patriarchy using this concept called as narcotizing patriarchy. Patriarchy will not allow women to get connected to the larger world. A woman who is ready to do household work is respected by this society. One who is going to job, she is suspected by the society. Respect if you do household work, suspect if you do paid work outside the house. And this is because of patriarchal mindset. Respect if women are doing household work. Suspect when women are doing unpaid work outside the house. So working women are suspected by patriarchy. Sexual suspicion because of patriarchal culture. Sexual suspicion of whom? Women who are going to work outside, who have taken up paid employment outside, they are sexually suspected by patriarchy. So, respect when you do unpaid domestic work. Suspect when you do paid outside work. Women prefer to be respected, not to be sexually suspected. And that is the reason why many women, they are resigning their job after getting married. Married women are going to job. Why? Otherwise, family cannot run. Given a choice, husband wanted wife to do domestic work, not to do paid work. Choice is not there because of economic compulsion only, wife is told to work. So this is narcotizing patriarchy. Patriarchy is coexisting with capitalism, feudalism, slavery. Everywhere patriarchy was present. So patriarchy coexisted with slavery, feudalism, and capitalism. 2017 report of United Nations Office on Drug and Crime. United Nations Office on Drug and Crime 2017 report. United Nations Office on Drug and Crime 2017 report says 6 out of 10 women are intentionally murdered by intimate partner or a family member. 6 out of 10 women are murdered by intimate partner or a family member. And during Christmas time, the number increases. During summer vacation time, the number increases. So you see that many of the health workers who are struggling to render services to the people of in coronavirus times or COVID times, many health workers, ASHA, accredited social health activist, ASHA, accredited social health activist, ASHA workers, they are they are frontline healthcare providers today. Frontline healthcare providers today, but they are not given proper gadgets. So they are not given proper, preventive devices. They don't have adequate health gears, and they are sent to COVID duties. So they are going to face more risk. They are going to face more risk. Women health workers are facing more risk because they are not given proper health gears. Feminization of labor. Because of capitalism, women are compelled to take up some employment. They have to do domestic work. They have to do emotional work. They have to do labor love. They have to serve. They have to provide labor of love. Labor of love. They have to do emotional labor. They have to do labor of love in the home. So women face multiple hardships, which is only becoming more intensified due to coronavirus. So this topic is women and coronavirus, how women are subjected to more and more domestic abuse. Third topic is Kerala pandemic and social democracy. Social democracy and COVID-19. Social democracy and COVID-19. Already, because of the neoliberal economic model, multiple crises people are facing. Adding fuel to the already present fire, pandemic has exposed the weakness of neoliberal capitalism or globalization of capitalism. Social democracy means a social pact, a social agreement containing political commitment to provide basic welfare services and opportunity for all citizens. Social democracy is what? A social pact, otherwise a social contract containing political commitment to provide basic welfare services and equality of opportunity for all citizens. For all citizens. This is what is social democracy. It's a social pact or a social agreement or a social contract. It contains what? Political commitment, and that political commitment is about guaranteeing basic welfare services to the citizens as well as giving equality of opportunity for all citizens. Capitalism is not giving this guarantee. Capitalism is a compulsion. Social democracy is a choice. Voluntary choice. People's choice. In Kerala, The social pact or social democracy started working very strongly since 1930s. In Kerala, the social democracy started working since 1930s in the form of temple entry movement. 1930s temple entry movement, 1950s and 60s peasant movement and worker movement, 1980s mass literacy movement, 1990s democratic decentralization movements, followed by ecological movements and gender-based movements. So, social democracy is unfolding in Kerala since 1930s. When Travancore administration, when the Maharaja of Travancore was ruling Kerala, that time itself in 19th century, he provided for universalization of primary education free of cost. So, Kerala is having a long history of social democracy. 1930s, temple entry movement, 1950s and 60s, peasants movement, workers movement, 1980s, mass literacy movement, 1990s, democratic decentralization movement, environmental movement, women's movement were made possible because of the social democracy which Kerala started. Not only social democracy created a strong sense of citizenship, it also strengthened the legal and institutional capacity for public action. Not only it strengthened the citizenship, social citizenship, it also strengthened the legal and the institutional capacity for public action. Right? So, we have given the first point, what? How social democracy was initiated in 1930s itself. Because of the social democracy, what were the outcomes? Strong social citizenship, the legal and the institutional capacity for public action got strengthened. So, this is the consequence. First consequence is strong social citizenship and strengthening of legal and institutional capacity for public action. Number 2, a vibrant civil society which continuously sought accountability from the frontline state actors. A vibrant, organized civil society which constantly monitored the government, enforcing accountability on the government. Number 3, competitive political party. Irrespective of which party is in power, every political party is trying to watch the government action. Number 4, local government empowerment. Local government empowerment, strengthening of Panchayat Raj institutions. Number 5, people are not seen as the subject, they are seen as full citizens with rights. They are not seen as subjects, but full citizens having rights. Kudumbashree, there is one civil society called Kudumbashree. In Kerala is a civil society, a non-governmental organization comprising of women volunteers. 2 decades this Kudumbashree program became a very popular cooperative movement, a very, very popular civil society, a very strong civil society having so many women involving in multiple activities like self-help groups, right? So giving employment opportunity for many women, distressed women, helping the destitute women, taking care of the elderly people. Comprehensive support system was provided by the civil society called as Kudumbashree. During the COVID-19 period, this Kudumbashree was immensely helpful for the government of Kerala. How, Kudumbashree was having a proper database about the vulnerable sections, which was used by the Kerala government to offer door-to-door services of essential goods during the lockdown period. Using Kudumbashree members only, food packets were distributed. 3 lakh people were given food because of this Kudumbashree's community kitchen. 3 lakh people per day were distributed food prepared in the community kitchen maintained by Kudumbashree. They created 1.7 lakh WhatsApp groups. They wrote letter to many NGOs asking them to support the elderly people who are more vulnerable for coronavirus. So they took the government guidelines to the doorstep, told the people door to door how to practice social distancing, sanitation, how to always wear mask. So the government restrictions were taken to the doorstep by the Kudumbashree members. They helped in the contact tracing. They helped in the contact tracing as well. So we have seen that when there is crisis induced by pandemics, Kerala could manage this crisis with the legacies of egalitarianism, rights, and public trust. Kerala could deal this pandemic with egalitarianism, rights, and public trust because of social democracy. So therefore, there is a renewed interest in the principles of social democracy after the spread of coronavirus. So capitalism is challenged by social democracy today. Pandemic has hit the root of capitalism and the globalization, warranting rather than neoliberal capitalism, we have to have social democracy as an alternative which could help, which was helping Kerala to manage the pandemic using the legacies of public trust, egalitarianism, and rights. So this is how need for social democracy during the times of pandemics. Next, again, migration and COVID-19. Today's class is Corona special. Today's class is what? Corona special. COVID-19 is the theme. COVID-19 Ambedkar, COVID-19 women, COVID-19 social democracy, COVID-19 and migration. COVID-19 and migration. Migration and COVID-19. We have seen that millions of workers, migrant population got stranded because of the lockdown. They went to their native places by walk because public transportation was cancelled due to lockdown. No job for the migrant workers. They have to go back to their source places and they have to go by walk across thousands of kilometers. So already migrant population is vulnerable. COVID is making vulnerable more vulnerable. That is what we have seen or not? COVID is making the vulnerable more vulnerable. Migrant population. Because of coronavirus, there is a reverse migration that people started going from the destination to the source. They are going from the destination to the source. They are going back to their native places because of joblessness induced by coronavirus. Many migrants are working in the informal sector. 93 to 96% of workers are working in informal sector in India. Only 4% of workers are working in the organized sector. So almost all migrants who are experiencing reverse migration, going back to their native places, they are who? Working in the informal sector. They have come from places like Bihar, Odisha, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Eastern UP, and they are going back to their places. So the problem is failed development. Neoliberal model failed to develop these people, migrant people. Failed developmental model plus entrenched social discrimination. Failed developmental model plus entrenched social discrimination, resulting in severe economic crisis. Resulting in severe economic crisis. So economic crisis becomes very severe because of already failed neoliberal capitalism and already present social structure, caste system, which is discriminating people. Young male population started migrating, seeking job, and this is causing feminization of work, especially feminization of agriculture. Women, because of the migration of young men, on one hand will have to continue to do their household work, at the same time they have to go to work in the agricultural field as agricultural worker. So this is nothing but distress induced participation of women in agriculture. It is not voluntarily they are going, it is distress induced feminization of agriculture. Distress induced feminization of agriculture means what? Feminization of agriculture means more and more women are working in the agricultural arena. They are rendering the job, they are rendering the, they are into agricultural workers, but because of compulsion that the husband has migrated to city, wife will have to take care of the family, she has to be the breadwinner of the family, and most of the women are therefore in the village area becoming agricultural worker, not because of choice, because of compulsion. Therefore we said distress induced feminization of agriculture. Capitalism is not dissolving the matrix of social inequality. It is not dissolving the matrix of caste system. It is not dissolving the matrix of patriarchy. It is only leading to reconfiguration of the patriarchy and caste system. It is only leading to reconfiguration of patriarchy and caste system. So capitalism came with a promise that I will demolish all the structural inequality. Adam Smith told this in his Wealth of Nation or not? Free market economy will destroy the structural inequality. Caste system will go, patriarchy will go, race system will go, equality of opportunity will be given to all. It is a meritocratic system. But what really happened? What really happened? Capitalism did not dissolve or dilute the caste system or patriarchy. It only resulted in reconfiguration of already present inequality, reconfiguration of patriarchy, reconfiguration of racism, reconfiguration of gender-based inequality. That is what is done by capitalism. Neo-bondage, new bonded labor system has emerged. Neo-bondage, new bonded labor system has emerged. Especially the workers working in the footloose industry. They have asked in one of the prelims examination, what do you mean by footloose industries? Workers working in footloose industries, they have become who? Today, bonded labor, new bondage. They are not old, new, neo-bondage. Neo-bondage, new bonded labor system has emerged. Old bonded labor system went because there is a Bonded Labor Abolition Act. But new bonded labor system has come due to capitalism. Capitalism resulted in casualization of work, informalization of work, monetization of work, monetization of commodity. Everything is money centric now. And the poor will not have money to procure whatever he wanted. Karl Marx said this is what is alienation. In India, bottom 50% of the people are cultivating 0.4% of the total cultivable land. 50% of people are cultivating only 0.4% of the total cultivable land in India. Look at the nature of agricultural distress. 50% of the population are only cultivating 0.4% of the cultivable land. Low public investment in agriculture, right? Negligible capital formation, debt-driven agrarian community, no regulating or improper price regulation. What farmer will do? He will commit suicide. That what only explains why 3 lakh farmers have committed suicide in the last 10 years. Average land holding size reduced to 1.13 hectare. Land holding size reduced to 1.13 hectare. So, we see a situation which is more and more making the migrant population, those people who are migrant people, they come from Bihar, example Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh. These are the places where agricultural productivity is less. Agricultural productivity is less. Agriculture is failing in the area. Because of the agricultural failure only, they are coming to city. They are migrating to other parts. They are coming to, Haryana, Punjab, Western UP, Maharashtra, thinking that they will be able to get some job. If agriculture is properly managed, if agriculture is the priority, definitely migration will not be this much. Lack of care to agriculture, stepmotherly treatment to agriculture resulted in fall of agricultural productivity, fragmentation of land. Many farmers have quit farming. They are coming to other states seeking green pasture. They are not having any social security as long as they are migrant, because there is no ration card, there is nothing. No social sector scheme they will be included. Their children cannot go to school. They will have no land to place. They have no place to live in. They will have to be going to slum. So proliferation of slum fully consisting of the migrant workers. And when coronavirus comes, the entire lockdown, everything comes to a standstill. They have to go back to their place. The consequence is distress, causes negligence, the state negligence to agriculture, capitalization or capitalist agriculture. Capitalism means moving away from agriculture. More and more people should quit agriculture. They have to become workers to industries. That is what is capitalism. But India, people still are dependent on agriculture. People still are dependent on agriculture. When agricultural productivity declines, they have to come to destinations from source. Now they are going back. There, what they are going to do? Already, because there is no food, they came here. No food in their source places, which is why they came here. Now here also no food, they are going back there. What will happen to them? More pressure will be exerted because of the return of the people, because of the reverse migration. More pressure will be there in Bihar, in Odisha, from where large number of people have migrated. What will happen? More and more crisis will happen. More and more hunger will happen. More and more poverty will happen. More and more protest will happen. More and more law and order problem will happen. All these are rooted to what? Lack of inclusive growth. So this is what is coronavirus and migration. Reverse migration is only a consequence. You have to speak about why they came here first. Why they are going back? Informal sector they are working. I told no pay security, no job security, no legal security, no safe working place, no labor law will cover them. Informal sector. Informal sector, no labor law will be covering them. So they are more and more vulnerables. We have seen how vulnerables are becoming more vulnerable because of coronavirus. So in today's class, what and all we have seen? Dr. Ambedkar's relevance in the COVID times, women COVID times, 3 what? The migrant population and COVID times, social democracy and COVID-19, urbanization and COVID-19. Should we see or not? Urbanization and COVID-19. Urbanization and COVID-19. Skewed urbanization and the spread of epidemics. Is urbanization regular or irregular? Very irregular. Skewed urbanization. Skewed urbanization is more connected to spread of pandemic. More connected to spread of pandemic. Skewed urbanization. Already there is a dearth of infrastructural facility. Already there is a dearth of infrastructural facility in city. Because all over the world, city population is increasing. Today, 50% of the world is living in city. 50% of the world is living in city. If you come to census 2011, 30% of Indians are living in city. 2011, 10 years back. Definitely today it will be more. So dearth of infrastructure already present, uneven expansion happens, urban sprawl, haphazardly urbanization grows. More than 50% of people in world are in city. In 10 years, 60% of people will be in city. Whether city is having that much facility to accommodate 60% of the total world population? Definitely not. So migration is because of not pull factor, because of the push factor. Migrant population will not have the space to live in city. 60% of Indians are living, 60% of Indian families are living in 300 square feet house. Per square feet, per person space availability in India is only 72 square feet. Per person space availability in city is 72 square feet. If you go to prison, in prison per person availability, space availability is 96 square feet. So prison is bigger than city as far as per capita space availability is concerned. So congestion, slums, 56% of people in Maharashtra, Mumbai, 32% of people in West Bengal, Kolkata are living in slums. Half of the people in Bombay are living in slum, Mumbai. Half of the 32% of people in Kolkata are living in slum. Slums don't have proper sanitation, no proper housing facility, no clean environment. And what is told? What is the strategy to stop the spread of COVID-19? Sanitation. Sanitation is not there in slums. So slums becomes the epicenter of epidemics. City becomes the epicenter of epidemics. Especially slums becomes the epicenter of epidemics. What the government says, what the World Health Organization says, we have to wash hands with soap. Are there present that many water tap connections having multiple entry, having multiple points that people can access this water? Where is water availability? Where is water availability in these slums for washing the hands with soap frequently? So there is no possibility of maintaining the cleanliness, without which there is spread of coronavirus, which will be very acute. And that what is the reason why in the slum areas, in the cities, epidemic disease like pandemic coronavirus is spreading on a massive level. City is characterized by so much of constricted space. Space is very, very less. Vehicular transport is very much high. Vehicle density is very high. As far as the public transportation system is concerned, more than the passenger density approved, every public transportation system is carrying the passenger. More than the allowed passenger density, public transportation system is carrying the passengers. So when it is very crowded, when the transport system is becoming very crowded, social distance cannot be practiced. Physically, people will come closer to each other. Without social distance, the spread of coronavirus becomes rampant. It will go out of the gear. More and more traffic congestion, during the peak hours in cities. So much of traffic congestion during peak hours. So the time taken for travel will increase. Physical contact with polluted air increases. Construction causes air pollution. Demolition of the construction leading to waste causes pollution. Vehicular emission causes pollution. So a person in city is inhaling only polluted air and that results in weakening of the respiratory system. Respiratory system becomes weaker, lung is getting affected, and it is told that coronavirus is affecting only the lung, causing pneumonia. So those in cities who have already got a very weak respiratory system because of the polluted air, inhaling the polluted air, their lungs are becoming weak. Easily they will catch pneumonia caused by COVID-19. Therefore, the incidence of coronavirus is more in the city. So spread of coronavirus cannot be seen only as a biological phenomena. Spread of coronavirus should be seen from the point of view of how urbanization, skewed urbanization resulted in easy physical contact between the person, more exposure to the polluted air, more exposure to the waste. That what resulted in increasing incidences of COVID-19 in cities. Right? So if you go to Hong Kong, Hong Kong has more more population density than Indian cities. Hong Kong has more population density than Indian cities. But in Hong Kong, you have best capital infrastructure, which gives you sanitation, which gives you proper road connectivity, which is having least pollution, city pollution, and therefore Hong Kong is a better place as far as city is concerned to live in. But that much capital infrastructure can we make in Indian cities? There is a dearth of money, there is a dearth of capital infrastructure. So this is what is making city as a very hostile place to live in, especially in the times of spread of coronavirus. This is urbanization and COVID-19, skewed urbanization and pandemics. So 5 topics we have seen. I told you this class is a coronavirus special class or COVID-19 special. As far as the crash course, as far as the current affairs class is concerned, it is a COVID-19 special today, because what more current affairs you can expect other than coronavirus? Everything is coronavirus. Everywhere you see last 7 months, every single page you have the instances of coronavirus, not just locally, but also regionally and internationally. Right? Hope the class would help you to integrate current affairs in your sociology paper. We'll come out with the next class very soon. Hereafter, regularly, you'll have sociology current affairs class. The intention I have told you, very, very simple. You have to become a civil servant. Sociology will have to make your dream come true. Thank you. All the very best.